Good afternoon, people. Welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV. Spurs are in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. And we all know Ange always wins something in his second season. Liverpool in the semi-final, first leg beginning of January, second leg beginning of February. We're here to review the Manchester United game last night, which was the carnage that was ensuing on Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last night on that White Hart Lane pitch. Real sense of occasion at the ground yesterday. As I was saying on the fan show last night, like as you're walking up those steps towards the south stand, you could actually hear the noise coming out of the stadium. And it wasn't the concourse downstairs, but the concourse upstairs. People were it was packed up there and mad noise. I think the Return of the Shelf had some sort of meet-up up there, and it was absolutely rocking. Downstairs as well, there were songs going on. So really got that sense of occasion, real cup feeling last night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and it did relay onto the pitch, into the stands.
Cup atmosphere's been pretty good this year, haven't they?
Yeah, they have been, and that atmosphere did relay into the stadium, but I did feel like the two teams, as they were playing in that first half, did kind of suck the life out of the atmosphere for a little bit, because I felt like the way the first half was going and the way the first half went, it was kind of two teams not really at it. I didn't feel Spurs were particularly at it. I didn't think Man United were particularly at it. One real chance of the first half and it went in. So, I mean, I don't think either team probably deserved to be going in at half-time winning, but it was Spurs.
I don't think we were that bad in the first half.
No, I'm not saying we were bad, but I just don't think we created much. I just felt like it was two teams really just cancelling each other out.
Well, Decky had a chance that, he forced Bayinda into a save. Obviously, he scored the goal. Decky then nearly forced an own goal as well from Ugarte, which was a good move. I think we were looking threatening. I think they were looking threatening. I didn't think it was a terrible game in the first half, actually. Interesting how you can have different perceptions when you're at the game and maybe when you're watching it on TV. You've seen it a lot of times. But I thought both teams were kind of going at it. And I think we kind of defended quite well in terms of United were creating many openings from the wing-backs. But whenever they had a few times, right, they had that pullback to Eriksen on the edge of the box, which every time it happened, it was a block from one of our defenders.
It was mainly Basuma every time.
Basuma, I think Archie Gray blocked one as well. So I think you got to say that on the face of it, that's just good defending when you're throwing your body on the line, protecting Fraser Forster's goal. I don't think Forster had to make too many saves in that first half. I thought we actually looked dangerous. We had a few. I thought the moments when we were catching Man United in the middle, in terms of there was a few times we won the ball high up the pitch in the middle of the park, and then all of a sudden we sprung on them, and probably could have made them more out of some of the opportunities we did make in those scenarios. But we did create some opportunities. Decky, I thought, was buzzing around, being brilliant. Maddison, I thought, was doing all right as well. And yeah, look, Decky could have had a goal, I thought, with a brilliant turn on Ugarte inside the penalty box, which forced a save. I thought Sonny was looking bright. Again, he could have done a bit more with some of the opportunities he had in that first half. And I thought it was kind of a bit of an even game. I thought we did have the better of the opportunities in the first half, to be honest.
I mean, we had some shots on target. They didn't have any shots on target. That was the reality.
And a well-taken goal. It looks easy, but that wasn't an easy finish from Solanke.
Oh, it was a brilliant finish. Kissed the inside of the post. He does well to gamble, obviously, with the keeper. I don't know what he's doing there, parrying it.
Terrible keeping,
he parried it. It's terrible keeping from, what's his name?
Bayinda.
And it was that was the tale, though, of the game, though. The tale of the two keepers. But yeah, that was the first one. And Solanke does really well to gamble. Shot, kissed the inside of the post and goes into the back of the net.
Because when he gets the ball, if you have a snapshot of where he shoots from, that's not an easy finish. He doesn't have a lot of the goals to aim at. He's taking it first time. They have to react very quickly. It's not the easiest angle. I know it's a rebound, but the keeper at that point is already back up. It's not like the keeper's down. He has an open net. The keeper's back up and in position. And he has to pretty much hit it at that specific place where he hits it, right inside the post. And as you say, he does keep himself onside, even though there was no VAR. The replay showed he was definitely onside. And that's what you get with Dom Solanke. Defenders can never rest when he's around, especially when we're taking shots, because he's always on the move and he's always sniffing out opportunities to kind of get in rebounds and sniff out where the ball's going to land. He's very, very good at that. And I was saying to Cooper yesterday, it's very, very hard to stop when you have a defence like United were yesterday, where they're holding the line for offside, right? So they have a point where they have to stop because they're holding that line for offside. And then you've got a striker like Dom Solanke, where as soon as that ball's hit from Porro, he's on the move forward. And if he can keep himself onside, like that's pretty. I think that's very, very hard to stop. How do you stop that if you're being told you have to hold that line for offside? You can't follow Solanke in because you're holding that line. If Solanke's timing his run right, it's almost impossible to stop.
Yeah, and I guess like the only way to combat is not hold the line and follow the man.
But then you're risking keeping
of course
onside, so that's
of course.
the balance.
So, yeah, obviously Solanke did really well for that goal, and this is something I've been calling for Solanke for like many a time this season. We've seen where he's got in the right positions and his finishing's just not been up to scratch. I thought yesterday those 2 goals that he scored, he took them both so well, man. The second one particularly, the way he ran at their defence, beat one man, beat 2 man, and just slotted it in the bottom corner. I think Dom Solanke for both those goals was incredible. He really was incredible, really incredible. And that's what we've been missing from Solanke a little bit since he's joined the club, I feel. And hopefully those 2 finishes now will give him a lot of confidence maybe to kick on and start getting regular goals.
Scores, we keep saying that, don't we?
Yeah, but I think these goals were a bit different, though, to the goals that he has scored in the past, particularly the second one.
Yeah, the second one was definitely one which, again, we got very used to like Kane scoring those type of goals, just making a yard for himself and clinically finishing it. I've always said Solanke, he's capable of doing it, but he's not going to be doing it every game like Kane was. Kane was a special player, and we kind of got so used to Kane doing amazing things so regularly that we just thought they were normal in terms of like those finishes like into the side netting regularly. A goal like yesterday where he'll take a couple of touches inside and bury it in the corner. Now, Solanke showed yesterday he is capable of scoring that type of goal, and he showed on occasion for Bournemouth. But again, if you look at the majority of his goals for Bournemouth, they're not like that. Those are more the exception to the rule. A lot of his goals are more like the first goal we scored. He scored yesterday, or like tap-ins or crosses in the box with first-time finishers. That's more his that's what Solanke's good at. That's more like his kind of finish. So, yes, I would love to see Solanke do that kind of thing more, but I don't really think we signed him to score those type of goals. Like, I'm not saying he shouldn't, and we shouldn't expect more of that from him because he's capable of it. But that's not how we got his 19 goals for Bournemouth. It wasn't those type of goals. It was more the goal like the first one.
But if he can add that to his repertoire,
then
if he can
100%.
add that, then you're talking about a top striker.
100%.
Because I've really liked what Solanke is bringing in terms of work rate, dropping deep, hold-up play, and his sheer physicality. And I think he showed all of those aspects yesterday as well. But then to add that, I mean, it's brilliant.
And that second goal doesn't happen without Solanke as well, because if you look at where that starts from, the ball gets played into him. He's got 3 United defenders around him. He holds them all off. He recovers the ball. He gets out. He gets it to Spence quickly. He gets it quickly out wide to Son, and all of a sudden it starts a very direct attack, and it leads to the goal. So, that kind of stuff can't be underestimated as well.
I want to show you as well. Can I bring up my phone? Can I just connect my phone for a second? Because I thought this was really interesting. While it's loading up, it's obviously... I just want to show you guys Dom Solanke's positioning on the pitch yesterday in the average lineup, and also his heat map. So look at this heat map, yeah? This is our striker. This is our number 9 that scored 2 goals yesterday. Mm-hmm. He is literally in every area of the pitch. It's unbelievable the positions that he takes up on the pitch and how he can still influence it going the other way and provide such quality. So that's his average heat map.
But I think when you go up against a team like United who are playing 3 at the back, he has to do that because he's got.
He does it every game, though. He does it.
He does it. Yeah, he does it a lot of games as well. But I think there are some games where you ask him, "Can you pin the defenders back and can you be a bit further forward?" But in this kind of game, they got 3 centre backs there, so you've got to kind of find the space where you can. And I think, dropping a bit deeper is probably the best. And obviously, look, he did do that for the 3rd goal, stretch the defence, but that's when we're 2-0 up. They have to maybe come out a bit. So, that he's got that in his game as well.
And then this is his average position yesterday. He's actually deeper than Kulusevski, Son, Maddison, and Sarr. That's mad. And Sarr.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy. I guess if you can see here, quite a few of his touches were the kickoff. You can see right in the middle because
fair.
Because if you look at his touches, and it quite regularly is the case, he had, I think, probably the least touches on the pitch, didn't he? He had how many touches?
35.
35 touches, but he only had 15 passes.
Yeah. 15
So-
passes, 10 accurate.
So I'm guessing he probably touched the ball less than anyone else, and that's what we've known about playing striker in the Ange Postecoglou system. Is, we were told before that they have to do a lot of the running, a lot of the pressing. They're not always going to be the focal point in terms of not everything's going to go through them. They're going to be tasked with kind of finishing off moves, and obviously he's brought an extra element to that game where you can really get the ball into him and hold it up. But he's not. We don't need him to see a lot of the ball to be effective, and again, that was an example of it.
Yeah, and just his sheer work rate. He's just so much for the team, even when he's
4
not touching
tackles.
the ball. Unbelievable.
There you go, for a striker.
From
Brilliant.
Big Dob Solanke. And I felt like, I didn't think it was like a vintage display from Spurs yesterday, but I thought it was a display where we got the job done and we were really clinical when we did get our chances. And I felt like, from individual standpoint, there were some really top displays out there. When you're looking at Solanke, you're looking at Kulusevski, and you're looking at Sarr Bissouma and Jed Spence as well. Jed Spence, what an assist, by the way.
Brilliant.
Two games, 2 assists, and 2 assists of the highest quality, aren't they?
Yeah, brilliant ball through. Weighted perfectly. Again, similar to what I said about his Maddison assist. Perfectly weighted pass and perfectly timed pass as well, keeping him onside, and as well right into Solanke's path. Obviously, Solanke still had a lot to do after that moment, but brilliant pass from Spence, because he's on the left-hand side, and I think, does a doggy play that pass? I haven't seen the doggy play that kind of pass too often. So brilliantly picked out from Jed Spence, and good reward for another really good display from him.
Jed Spence is our most on-form fullback.
No, by far.
By far, you
Yeah.
know, you're looking at it, and surely the question should be right now, who partners Spence at fullback opposed to who does Spence come in for?
In this form, I think he's got to play because he's playing really well. He's earned his spot in the last 2 games. It's not as if he's just... I think Ange said it in his press conference perfectly. It's not as if he's just come in and filled in and done a job and, waiting for the other fullbacks to come in. He's actually come in and actually made a big impact in the team. And actually, I think he's really helped with the energy levels. His in anticipation's been really, really good. The way he nicks balls in the middle of the park and he pounces on loose passes brilliantly. And in the final third, he showed he can also make a difference. Got an assist against Southampton, brilliant assist, and another assist against United. So, as well, he's fresher than the other players right now. He's fresher than Udogie and Porro. I saw a stat the other day, and maybe this is why we're seeing poor performances potentially in recent weeks from Porro and Udogie, because no one has played more minutes than both those players in the whole squad. And we've seen having that freshness in Spence coming into the team, what a difference it's made in the past 2 games. Massive difference.
And I'm going to keep asking the question, why has it taken so long for him to see starts in big games or in Premier League games, quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup? He's seen starts now, but why has it taken so long when we've seen our fullbacks over the past month tiring and underperforming a little bit? It's madness, isn't it?
Have to ask
When you have a player like that chomping at the bit to play and he provides such quality.
His excuse was Archie Gray has been filling in there, and that's the reason why Spence hasn't really maybe got the opportunities he deserved. That's what he says, and now Gray's obviously moved to centre back. It's given an opening for Spence to come in, but look, judging on, I think Spence has been better from what we've seen from Archie Gray in fullback
By far, I think.
So, on that evidence, he should have been ahead of Gray when it comes to fullbacks.
I mean, Spence is actually a natural fullback, and Archie Gray's a natural midfielder. So, I mean, that doesn't make sense, that excuse, to be honest. And particularly when when Udogie and Porro have both needed rest, where you could, if he really wanted to, he could have played Archie and Spence, at fullback. So it's not really an excuse that washes with me. I think that Spence should have been seeing more game time. But I'm so happy that he's had the game time now. 2 starts in a row, and he's grabbed that opportunity with both hands. Standout performer in both the games that he's played, and 2 assists of high quality as well. But you look at the start of the second half, and you've seen Spurs under Ange do this so many times. Just come out of the second half and just knock 2 goals in quite early and just blow the other team away. And I felt that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, because I think we've shown under Ange Postecoglou, once we kind of get ahead, get momentum in the game, we're very hard to stop. How many times do we see, not even just in second half, so it does usually happen in second half, the momentum just go with Tottenham. We hit a team for 1 and all of a sudden we hit them for 2 or maybe even 3. And it's happened so many times. Even in recent weeks, Southampton happened, against Chelsea it happened as well. We know that momentum going in our favour, and we can hit teams very, very quickly. And I think that just goes to show when we're in full flight, when the momentum is with us, when we're on our game, we're very, very difficult to stop. And once the tide is coming against the opposition, all of a sudden they seem under it, and all of a sudden we're swarming them, and we are very, very difficult to stop in those scenarios. And I think yesterday was another example of that. We got that first goal from Kulusevski, and we were rampant. Decky was doing Rabona through balls. We were looking like we could score at every opportunity, and then Slanky gets a third. And at that point, you think the game is done. Obviously, it wasn't. We'll get into that. But Spurs in full flight under Ange Postecoglou is a scary prospect for oppositions, and I think that's another example of it.
Yeah, it really is. And we talk about as well, like the Chelsea game and this game where we've taken leads and we've let it slip. Well, we let it slip to a certain extent yesterday, and we completely let it slip against Chelsea. Do you put any of that down? Because I see a lot of people, like even journalists, maybe I think it was Neville or Carragher, I can't remember which one was saying it last night, that Ange Postecoglou needs to adjust tactics when ahead and maybe sit in a little bit. But can he account for the 2 penalties that we gave away at Chelsea? Can he account for the 2 mistakes that Fraser Forster made yesterday? Like, are any of these situations why we're not in game, keeping the lead and to a respectable amount, like anything to do with tactics?
I think maybe the Chelsea one a bit more, just because they were maybe putting us under a bit more pressure, and that relentless pressure may be a consequence of, I didn't see us defend like we did in the last 20 minutes in this game, and maybe like we played against City in that Chelsea game. So maybe in that Chelsea game, could we have defended a bit like that in after going 2-0 up and kind of managed the game? In this scenario, I don't think it's got anything to do with Ange changing his tactics or anything like that. It's got nothing to do with game management. It's got nothing even to do with playing out the back. Because that second goal is not because we decided to play out the back. That second goal comes because Forster's too slow. Any keeper in the Premier League is at some point going to have the ball played back to them, and they're going to have to lump it forward or whatever. So it's got nothing to do with playing out the back. That's just got to do with Forster being extremely slow in that scenario with the ball at his feet. The first goal, you can maybe say it's maybe from playing out the back, but Forster again, he doesn't have to play it to Dragusin. He can maybe clip it to Porro. He can maybe go long. He doesn't have to make that decision. He's just not aware of where Fernandes is. It's just another mistake. It's not like Forster has seen Bruno there, right? And he's seen Dragusin there. He's like, I've been told I need to play out the back, so even though Bruno's there, I'm going to pass it to Dragusin and risk it. I don't think that's the case. I think he just didn't see Bruno. I think he completely screwed up, and obviously we were made to pay from it. But that's got nothing to do with the tactics. It's got nothing to do with Ange's decision to keep playing out the back and playing it short to invite the opposition on. That's completely to do with 2 absolute brain farts from Forster, 100%. And I don't understand the narrative. I'm listening to these pundits as you're saying, it's Ange doesn't change the way you play. It's because Ange keeps going forward. Ange doesn't care about game state. That might be true, but yesterday had nothing to do with that. Had absolutely nothing to do with that. It wasn't about us continuing to going forward, and that's why we conceded those goals. It had nothing to do with that. Just Forster made 2 really bad mistakes, and I hate the lazy analysis. Just because we gave away 2 goals while we're leading, I know it feeds into that narrative that Ange, he only has one way of playing and he doesn't change it for how the game is going or anything like that. But I think watching yesterday's game and coming to that conclusion is just lazy punditry, I think.
And when you're talking about like his insistence to play it out the back, I mean, just don't make those stupid errors. Like, you can't, like, when you're talking about game management and managing the game from going 3-0 up towards the end of the game, even when you're talking about game management from a tactical perspective, I agree with you. But game management has also got to do with decision making and cutting out these stupid individual errors that we're talking about. So I guess maybe when some people, because I spoke about game management last night, that's what I was talking about. Like, just don't make stupid errors. Like, maybe it is, easier said than done. But those errors at the back end of the Chelsea game to give away those 2 penalties, those errors from Fraser Forster last night, I mean, it's just something that keeps happening.
100%. I would say the Chelsea one, the only reason I'd say it's a bit different is because when you've got a team like Chelsea, like they were on that game, like entering the penalty box as often as they were, right, and just putting you under more and more pressure, the likelihood of something stupid or a mistake happening in your penalty box probably goes up, right? Because you're continually having to make challenges and make blocks and make tackles, and the possibility of or percentage of you getting one of those wrong goes up the more you're under that pressure. So it's more understandable, albeit still not an excuse. I can kind of rationalise it. This scenario, You know, 10 times out of 10, a keeper gets the ball played back to them and he punts it forward. 10 times out of 10, they should be able to get that away. That goal from Amad Diallo should never be happening 10 times out of 10. There's no excuse for that happening.
No.
That's just inexcusable. Like, no manager in the world can account for what happened for that goal. That's just something that is beyond tactics, beyond management. That's something you can plan for. So it's I completely agree. It's nothing to do with tactics. It's nothing to do with anything like that. It's just Forster completely fucking up.
Yeah, 100%. But, and you know, that first goal, that, you know, stupid playing out the back, or, you know, and Bruno nicking in there, it gave Man United so much kind of belief in the game, didn't it? 1-0, because there was so much time left in the game. I think we go 3-0 up on the 53rd or 54th minute or something. What was the time of
just before he scored that goal, he made a brilliant save for us as well.
It was literally a minute before, and they score 63, they score 70, and suddenly we're just like, oh my god, what is going on?
You go
here?
from the game, you thinking the game is dead at 3-0 to, at that point, once they get that goal right on 70 minutes. Do they then become favourites to go through at that point? Because the momentum is with them. They're bringing on all these subs. They're fresher. We're out on our feet at that point. We've still got, you know, remember, an 18-year-old centre-back and all these different things. And at that point, I think a lot of United fans were convinced they were going to go through at that point.
I think a lot of Spurs fans were convinced that Spurs are going to bottle this, because they scored two in under 10 minutes, right? Complete gifts. Like, you can't account for what happened. I was sitting there. Everyone around me was sitting. This is so classic Spurs. Like, how can you be in control on the 55 and then on 65 or 70? It's back to 3-2 and you've still got a large chunk of the game to play. And Man United are completely in the ascendancy. A minute after that as well, Fraser Forster makes that save, doesn't he, with his feet? And I was like, oh my God, what is like going on here?
Clearing the ball.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on here?
People have described it as a save you'll see on your five-a-side pitch every day of the week.
Literally.
Power League. Literally.
And, you know, United were gaining momentum.
I think, to be fair, though, you've got to give Spurs credit, as much as, yes, we were under the cosh those last 20 minutes. Like, how many real good chances do United have? Like, I thought we actually defended quite well.
Yeah, the stats say that Man U created 4 big chances in that second half. I mean, two of them with the goal. But we only created 1 big chance, it says, in the second half.
Which was probably one of the goals we scored.
Yeah, I'm guessing it wasn't Solanke. It was probably Kulu's goal.
Yeah, probably. But I'm talking about in that last 20 minutes, right? You know, people. I saw Redknapp say there was a masterclass in how to give up a game, how to throw away a game, or how to manage a game, or how to bottle a lead or something. And, you know, people are talking about how Man United were peppering us and all this kind of stuff. But I think you need to give credit to this team, because it's right. We were under the cosh and we were looking like we could easily give up that lead at any point. And Man United had, you know, just brought on all these fresh players, and they were the ones in the intensity. They had the momentum. But in that last 20 minutes, I actually got to give credit to that defence, because I thought we did dig deep. I thought we actually did defend really well. And I think we did keep Man United at arm's length. I think Mazraoui had one chance where it would have been a good goal if he scored it, but that was maybe one opportunity. And then they had Diallo had that long shot. That was from 25 yards. But Man United really failed to actually break us down.
And the Basuma near own goal as well.
Yeah, but that was nothing. That happened, but it was nothing. It wasn't like they created a chance from that.
Yeah, but you also look at it, right? And if Son doesn't score that absolute wonder goal from the corner, whether he meant it or not, you're probably looking at penalty shootout. That's the reality.
I don't necessarily think so. Maybe they get a last minute goal, maybe they don't. We held them for 20 minutes before Son scored. I think on the face of it, when you're watching the game, can you say they look like scoring? Yes, but just because, first of all, you're a Spurs fan and you're probably chewing your nails, you're probably scared of every time they come forward.
I think the majority outside of Spurs would have thought that as well.
Yeah, but maybe. But what did they create? They did struggle to create good quality chances. I think that's a fact. And I think they didn't. I think we actually did defend really well. And I think, given the makeshift nature of our defence and the fact we had to dig in deep for that 20-minute spell, we didn't, after gifting them 2 goals, that defence didn't crumble and they didn't give up really good opportunities, and we made sure we were solid, and we did defend in those last 20 minutes like we had against Man City and like we had against Man City, I guess, in that period. I think that deserves more credit than it's getting. People are saying, I'm going back to these pundits saying this is a masterclass in falling apart, but we didn't fall apart. We actually never gave up the lead. And yes, we gave up 2 goals, and that's shocking mistakes, but we actually, from that point, were really solid, I thought, and we didn't give up those opportunities, and I think that deserves more credit than it's getting.
I just feel like I agree with you what you're saying. I do feel like we held strong for those 20 minutes, and they had a couple of chances, but we kept them at bay for the majority of it. But it just plays into the narrative when you're 3-0 up on the 55th minute mark, and then 20 minutes later, 15 minutes later, it's back to 3-2, and then you're under the cosh. So it was a bit of a masterclass at that point to let Man U back in the game. But
we won the game, and we didn't give them the lead.
Of course we won the game.
We didn't fall apart in the end.
Of course we won the game, but it was just individual errors that we've seen pretty much all season that let Man United back into the game, and we need to cut these things out of our game, and if we want comfortable wins. That's the reality.
I'm not saying we don't, but we didn't end up falling apart because we ended up winning.
I agree. I'm saying I agree.
Falling apart, like, I think you have to lose to fall apart, if you know what I mean. And we didn't. We end up holding strong. So and again, as I say, look at the nature of that defence we're playing to not completely crumble at that point. Well, as I say, at 2, when it goes back to 3-2, I think a lot of people would have United favourites at that point.
Yeah.
And we held strong, and that defence held strong at that point.
You got to say Fraser Forster now. I don't want to lay into him because he's been brilliant since coming in for Vicario. I think every game apart from this game he's probably put in a top display since coming in. But now yesterday has happened. Do we think a goalkeeper needs to come in January?
I don't know. Well, judging by, I was just listening to Andrew's press conference, judging by his response, it doesn't look like they're going to bring one in. I think we do in general need a sub-keeper. I don't think it's just about Vicario being injured. I think we were looking at one in the summer. I think we do need a natural replacement for Vicario if he's injured, or to be our number 2. We need a better option than Forster. I think that's so. In a perfect world, yes, would I bring in another keeper in January? I would go for one for sure. If we have a limited budget and we have to go for certain things and we don't have loads of money to spend and we can only get one player, let's say in January. Let's say we have 40 million to spend on one player. Do we spend it on do we spend half of that on a goalkeeper, or do we go 40 million on like a winger or something like that, or a fullback or something? I'd probably rather do that than put resources towards a goalkeeper. But if we have resources to go towards a keeper, I'll go for one, and I'll try and upgrade on Forster. But obviously it leads to different complications to Europa League squad and all this different stuff. It looks at the moment like we're not going to get one, but in a perfect world, yes, but my point is I'm not going to be terribly angry at this point if we don't, just because I think Forster's actually been a lot better than I expected in this long run. But yesterday was very worrying. Hopefully teams don't target that in terms of our team's going to force us to play it back to the keeper with the view of pressing him with what they saw yesterday. One annoying thing.
I don't think we were forced. I don't think Archie Gray even had to play it back.
He didn't. Yeah, it was unforced, but maybe teams will see that and start forcing us to play it back to the keeper. One thing was annoying was I actually thought in the first half he was actually quite good with his feet. Yeah. He played this one beautiful dink pass into Manderson in the middle of the park. I was like, wow, Fraser, that's beautiful passing. I was like, maybe he's been working on that. But clearly, yesterday wasn't, especially the second one, it wasn't a case of he can't play with his feet. It was more of he was just so slow. It was so slow to, once he was putting that pressure from Diallo, he was so slow to move, and it was not like he played a bad pass. He just couldn't get the pass off because he was moving so slowly. It took him age to wind his foot back and try and boot it. And
I watched it. When I watched it back, I was like, "What's going on here? Is my YouTube going in slow motion or something?"
Honestly,
and I see Amad Diallo just steaming in.
Ridiculous. So look, I don't think yesterday, just off the back of one game, will convince Ange I now need to definitely sign a keeper in Jan. I think whether it was in his thoughts or not in January, I think they'll go forward with what they were planning. I don't think that's going to change based off one game, is my point.
Because I think the majority of fans, probably before that game yesterday would have said, no, we'll probably be all right till the end of the season. But I think probably a lot of fans' mind might have changed after that, particularly if we would have gone out, but we didn't go out.
Yeah, the only problem is if between now and January he continues to make those kind of mistakes, then our opinions might change.
Yeah, it's only 3 games left in December.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that Sonny goal, because it just caused absolute carnage in the stands, and it was at a time where we just desperately needed it. Spurs were under the cosh. Spurs get a corner, and everyone around me was like, "Oh, we never bloody score from corners." And then I'm on the watch along being like, "Oh, we've got a corner," and it just goes all the way in, and the curl and the whip that he had on
Beautiful.
it. look, keeper should never be letting the ball in the back of the net from a corner. That's the reality. But for Sonny, captain, to step up in that moment and score such an unbelievable goal, whether he meant it or not, I don't know if he meant it or not, but I kind of feel like...
He told Ben Haynes he meant it.
Yeah, of course he did. Of course he did. But like I said to you on the fan show as well, I have noticed Maddison trying it a bit of late. I don't know if he's trying to put it in the back of the net or he's just trying to put the pressure on the keeper and get men around the keeper to force him into a mistake or something. But I think that's been a clear kind of instruction maybe with our recent corners.
Yeah, to try and put the keeper under as much pressure as possible. And maybe even with the fact that you put it in area and we can either get a flick on, or if everyone misses it, it does go straight in. Maybe that is a direct tactic. But I agree with you. We've seen a few attempts already in the past few weeks or something similar. And if you look at the goalkeeper's position, yes, he should never be letting him in. But he wasn't even without. Well, I guess we'll go into whether it was a foul or not. But even without Bergval's intervention, he's not claiming that comfortably. He's probably getting he has to touch it over the bar or something. He has to make a save essentially from it. So it was never going to be a comfortable moment for Bayern there. But he's complaining that Bergval fouled him. I mean, you've seen it back. What do you think? Do you think there's a foul?
No, I don't think it's a foul. I don't think it's a foul. I think he touches him, but how many times have we seen, players touching opposition keepers and nothing being given?
Keeper.
Well, every week, our keeper. I mean, look at Arsenal. Look at Arsenal every week from their corners. I mean, they do stuff on their corners every week that never gets called. That's much worse than what Bergval showed yesterday.
Bergval was a little tap on his hand. Yeah,
there was nothing in that. There was nothing in that. Nothing in that whatsoever.
If that was Vicario, everyone would be saying, what a howler from him. And I think that's rightfully calling out Bayindir as well, because I think it's weak from him. He should be claiming that. He should be saving it, I should say. I think it was a terrible piece of goalkeeping. He was flailing from it anyway, regardless of where Bergval was. He was already flailing for the ball. And I think it was just a brilliant delivery from Sonny. Wherever he meant it to go straight in, it was still a really good delivery. And he got the reward for it, the fact that it did go straight in. When was the last time or ever we scored directly from a corner? I don't remember ever.
I don't think ever.
Apparently he scored in Olympico.
Yeah, that's what Spurs are trying to make it. I've never heard that term.
I've never heard. I've a few people saying, Olympico, apparently. Where's that come from? I don't know, but...
Sonny get the Olympico, but
he can add that to his repertoire of bangers.
Unbelievable, Sonny. Unbelievable.
Directly from a corner.
It was the timing of the goal.
Oh, we needed
it. The timing of the goal was just perfect because there was such a mood around the stadium, being like every Spurs fan had their head in their hands. Everyone
just waiting for
to die, pretty much, just waiting. Man U were gathering momentum, and then in that moment of time, it killed the game. Even though Man U went up the other end and scored, it killed the game because it had that 2-goal buffer.
It was so funny. They announced 6 minutes of stoppage time, and we just got the second goal. So I was like, fine, I think we can breathe a bit, and then we concede again in stoppage time. I was like, just 6 minutes of peace, Tottenham, please. You can't even give me that. Just 6 minutes of I don't have to be stressed and worried, and you have to even that 6 minutes you have to concede in stoppage time.
We did it in true Spurs style.
You know what I mean?
We did it, but we did it. That's even the main thing.
Forster maybe should have saved as well. That goal, it went straight at him, that header.
Yeah. Look. Forster definitely comes into question yesterday, but the main fact of the matter is that we did the job last night. We got through to the semi-finals by hook or by crook. We got over the line with 10 first-team players out. And you know what? I've given Ange Postecoglou a lot of criticism over the last couple of weeks. I really have. And I want to give him his praise for yesterday because it's really hard to navigate the season as we're navigating it at the moment with the amount of injuries that we do have. And to put in these kind of displays over the last couple of weeks, last 2 games with Southampton. Yeah, I know Southampton just lost their manager and worst team in the Premier League, 5 points all season and all that. But we absolutely blew them away. Absolutely blew them away in the first half, 5 goals. And to respond to that with pretty much same team, a lot of tired legs out there it would have been, running on a lot of emotion and what's the word I'm looking for? Adrenaline, that's the one. Adrenaline coming into this game in a Carabao Cup quarter-final, which, the fans probably called this as the most important game of the season so far. And to score 4 goals against Man United with, like I said, a lot of tired legs out there, I think he's got a really hard job on his hands at the moment with all these injuries. So I want to give him a lot of credit for the way he's managing the team over the past week and a half because, look, it's really difficult. It's really difficult.
Yeah,
So,
to muster up a performance like that is not easy. I know Man United rested players, but it was still quite a strong team out there. You got the likes of Bruno, Højlund, Ugarte.
having said that, though, when I saw the lineups, I said no excuses for Spurs not to win today.
Obviously, I think you would have
Gave us a spring in our steps.
Yeah, I think you'd be encouraged by the lineup that they had, but they've still got, Lissandro Martinez there. They had Yoro there, who's looked quite good. Ugarte. They had Ericsson, who beginning of the season was looking really good. Dallo and Mazraoui was their first choice fullbacks. They got Bruno and Højlund, who are obviously their first choice attackers as well. So yes, they had the likes of Anthony and Lindelof and Bayinda sprinkled in there. They still had a lot of their first choice players out there. So it was never going to be easy. I said it was very important that by the hour mark we were in a substantial lead, because I knew one thing, we were definitely going to tire, and secondly they were going to bring on all their more important players like Ahmad and people like that. Well, I guess only who else was on the bench who I'm really scared of? I know that Ahmad. I know Xerxes came on and scored. Maybe Mainu. Mainu obviously came on and improved them.
They had the players that they brought on were Evans, Diallo, Mainu, Xerxes, and Garnacho, and then Onana, Maguire, and Malacia and Casemiro didn't come on.
Okay, so in terms of the players on the bench, Ahmad and probably Mainu, you're probably worried about making a big impact, and they did come on and make an impact, to be fair. So I was definitely of the opinion we had to be in a big lead before that moment to make sure we get through, and we were 3-0 up, and obviously when they come on, it's no surprise. Obviously they got it back to 3-2. Maybe at that point, albeit the goals they scored was a bit of a surprise, but again, going into this game, a cup quarter-final against, in terms of opposition, yes, they're in transition, but they've still got a lot of good players under a new manager who's sorting things out at the moment, but we're setting up in a three at the back system with wing backs and all this different stuff we do struggle against. And to have that back line and to get through that quarterfinal and be 3-0 up and manage that quarterfinal the way we have, I think deserves a lot of praise. And as you say, Ange has been coming in for a lot of criticism as well. Could he have yesterday, other managers yesterday, maybe with the lineup that we had, maybe think, okay, we've got to protect our back line, we've got to sit back, we've got to do this, we've got to do that, we've got to change the way we play to accommodate the players coming in. And maybe we would have sat back and we just would have lost. We would have died a slow death. But Ange wasn't having it that way. And he decided we're going to keep playing our football. I'm confident we can play our football with the players who got out there. And, we ended up scoring 4 goals and winning the game. And I think he deserves massive, massive credit. And yes, in recent weeks as well, in other games like the Bournemouth game and other games, it's backfired and we haven't got the result that we wanted. But for that, we've also had in recent weeks really good results. And a lot of people saying this is our most important game of the season. A lot of people saying there was a lot of focus on this game and we won a trophy. And I think he deserves a lot of praise for mustering up a performance out of this team with the injuries we got in such an important game and getting through. And big fair play to him. And hopefully, look, I think since the Southampton game anyway, it looks like a lot of the fans are back on his side. I bet if we do a poll now compared to when we did a poll a few weeks ago after the Bournemouth game where it was like, 60-40 and in to Ange out, I bet it's probably a lot higher than that now.
Probably 70-30, 75-80, something like that.
So I think hopefully this little mini run of form in the past week has kept the wolves from the doors in terms of people getting on his back too much and people realising that we are in an injury crisis at the moment, and once we come through it, we're going to be okay, I think.
I hope so. And look, we've said this so many times throughout the course of the season, but now we've got these back-to-back. When's the last time we had back-to-back wins?
Beating City and Villa, apparently.
So beating City and Villa, so that was in October, so about a month ago. Well, a month and a half ago. So it's been a long time. We've just gone through a really difficult period in terms of the state of the squad and managing our way through games and player tiredness, the emergence of Spence, the emergence of Gray and Dragshin. We didn't even mention Gray and Dragshin properly. I mean, the partnership that they're forming at the moment, particularly Gray as a makeshift centre-back and Dragshin as like the more experienced one, I think since they've come in, we haven't lost a game. I think we drew against Rangers.
Yeah.
We beat Southampton, and now we've beaten Manchester United in the Carabao Cup.
Gray, man. Again, not enough is being made out of him. What a talent this kid is. Yeah. Coming in as centre back when you're not a centre back at 18 against a team like Man United and performing the way he did, absolutely exceptional, man. Exceptional. What a talent this kid is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agree. So look, we have to use this now as a springboard. I know we've said this so many times, but we have to. I know it's going to be hard because we've got Liverpool this week. We've got 2 very hard games now. Liverpool at home and Forest away. 2 very difficult games in terms of like trying to build that momentum. And then the last game of the year is Wolves, and then we got Newcastle, 2 home games going into the new year. So it's going to be very difficult. But now we've won these 2 games, surely, and some players potentially coming back over the next couple of weeks, surely that does give the team a bit more confidence, because I think they were lacking in a bit of that.
For sure. Look, we'll go into Liverpool preview later, but I don't know if we'll win that game. But hopefully, we can just get enough wins to keep us in the hunt for that top 5 while we wait for injuries to come back. And then once we get that injuries come back, then hopefully at that point we can go on a bit of a run. I don't think we'll win all those 3 games. Between now and the new year, we'll probably drop points in 1 or 2 of them, or maybe 3. I don't know. We might drop points in a few of those games, but if we can just get 1 or 2 wins in there, just keep us in the hunt with the league so tight, that will be enough for me to show me that we can go on a bit of run second half of the season potentially once the players come back, and that would be very, very important. And hopefully, people start believing in Ange again, because clearly he was wavering. And look, we still got a lot of work to do for sure, and the form over the last year hasn't been good enough. But again, as I said, it's just a snapshot in time. It'll come the end of the season. If we're in that top 5 or whatever, and maybe we even have a trophy, no one's going to be saying, "Oh, but in that calendar year we weren't good enough," because that won't be important. What's important is where you finish and what you've achieved, and that's going to be the most important thing. And hopefully, if we can get a signing or 2 in January, get those players back, we can see what this football can bring. We see how effective this football can be when it's in full flight. And then for me, it's about getting that football more consistently, rather than being worried about the inconsistent form and just chucking away the whole project, because clearly I think we're still onto something.
And you saw Ange in the post-match interview with Sky Sports.
Oh, he was delighted, wasn't he?
I've never seen him so happy before.
That smile.
He was literally brimming. His smile was going from ear to ear, literally.
But I think he must have known what a big game it was, because everyone's been talking about cups and trophies, and this quarterfinal so big, and he knew what a big game it was. So the fact that we managed to get through with the injuries that we got and the team he had out there, he must have been delighted with that, and because he probably knows what an achievement it is to do that.
Yeah, and in terms of back on the atmosphere, just I want to touch on the atmosphere again. Again, a lot of, I didn't know if it was going to come in the home game, particularly a game that we were winning, but a lot of songs about the ownership last night once again, and even after the game, where they all celebrate stuff like that. A lot of Levy out chants and the Kulusevski one again. So it doesn't look like it's going away this time.
Well, as long as we're 10th, I'm sure they'll stay.
But you get qualifying to the semi-final of a cup. Mm-hmm. You'd probably expect most of the songs just to be about the team, and Spurs are on their way to Wembley and all this kind of stuff, which we were there. But it was also sprinkled in with a lot of Levy out and the Kulusevski one. I don't care about Levy and all that kind of stuff. So
it's a catchy song.
It is a very catchy song, but We Want Levy Out is not the catchiest of songs, and that was being sung as well, quite loud.
Look, keep putting the pressure on the board. I got no problem with it. I'm just saying, in a few weeks' time, look, if we win the cup, are they going to sing it at a final once we won a cup? I don't know. Like, are they? Should they? Or is that necessary? Even if you are pushing that to do it, maybe not. Maybe that doesn't matter. Again, once we've turned our form around, we're climbing the table, and we're still in these cup competitions. Will the pressure keep being on the board?
I hope so. I hope so, because I think it's gathered a bit of momentum now. I think a lot of kind of people that never even thought about it before, or was just completely against kind of voicing their concerns, or didn't even have concerns. I feel like a lot of people have jumped on right now. So let's see how it progresses. But in terms of the semi-final, Arsenal, Newcastle, Tottenham, Liverpool, first leg at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, second leg at Anfield in February. Long gap in between the 2 games, which could be a good thing for Spurs. Could be a bad thing, because Liverpool will also get some players back. But
at the moment, they've only got 2 injuries. So,
I was thinking, who's injured? Konate
and Bradley.
Bradley. So maybe they can get a few more injuries. I don't wish injuries on anyone, but
of course not.
You're looking at the tie. Is probably the tie that I would have least liked, to be honest. But if you're going to win the tournament, you have to beat everyone, and we've dispatched of Manchester City, we've dispatched of Manchester United. Can we go and dispatch of Liverpool in the semi-final?
I think we've got more of a chance than people give us credit for, only because, for me, I was saying before, John was saying before, who would you most like in that semi-final? And I actually said Liverpool, and the reason being is, I think for me, I think all the options are very, very difficult. I don't think there's a good option in there. I don't think there's an option like we have to get them and we're plain sailing. But for me, Liverpool, I think, is not a priority for them this competition.
Yeah.
I think they're top of the league. They're in a title race, right? Then if they've got a game in the league, they're going to be resting players in the semi-final. I don't think they care how big this cup competition is for the fans. If they've got a chance to like extend the lead or something in a league game, they will rest players in that semi-final for that league game. They're going for a league title. They're the front runners at the moment. That's where their priority is. I don't know if they've got Champions League games in and around that as well. I know they're through it already anyway.
No, they don't.
Maybe no Champions League, but still, this is the bottom of the list for priorities for them. So I do think there's a good chance they do rest a few players in this game for league fixtures and maybe don't put the energy there. And as well,
the problem is, Sim, is that the game after the Carabao Cup semi-final was the third round of the FA Cup.
That's the first leg.
The first leg. So we play Tamworth, they play Accrington Stanley. So
maybe they won't. But maybe
the game before the first leg, they've got Manchester United at Anfield. So that's a big game for them. In the second leg, they play Bournemouth away before us, and after us they play Wolves at home, and then Man City away. So they actually go into a difficult run after they play us in the second leg.
The big problem with the how it's panned out is the fact that we're away from home. Second leg is not great. That's definitely not good, because even if we win like 2 goals in the first leg, are you confident we can hold that out in the second leg? Maybe not, but that's a different scenario. But Liverpool are a team. Well, I guess we'll see on Sunday how we can match up with them, albeit, again, we have injuries and they're going to be full strength, so it might not be the best litmus test, but obviously it'll be a bit of an indicator of how we can fare.
Mate.
Yeah. Liverpool, definitely in recent weeks, our team have been leaking goals. I think that's fair to say. 3 against Newcastle, 2 against Fulham. They conceded a goal against Southampton in midweek. Without a manager. It wasn't that long ago they conceded 2 at St Mary's as well, winning 3-2. So they're a team that can be got at, albeit I still think they do have the best defence in the league, I think, statistically. Or maybe it's Arsenal, or they're very close. Recent weeks, they've been leaking a lot more goals than before. So I definitely think that they're a team that give up chances, especially in a cup game. I don't think there's going to be any sort of pragmatism about them. They're going to go for it. And I think when I look at Newcastle and Arsenal compared to Liverpool, I think Liverpool might give us the most chances out of all those 3 teams. I think Newcastle, when they shut up shop, they can be quite good. We saw that when they played Arsenal at the St James's and a few other games as well. And Arsenal, we know they're the best team in the league at the moment, shutting up shop and making sure they don't concede chances. And they're the team I would actually think would struggle against the most in that 3. So the fact that it's not a priority for them, and the fact that they do give up chances, I actually think we might have a decent chance of the 3 against them, because I know Newcastle coming up against them, they're just as desperate for a trophy as we are. They're going to be completely on it. They're going to be completely on their game. This is so important to them to get through that semi-final, and so I actually wouldn't. Over 2 legs, that could be a 50-50, that one. I guess, it's going to be less than 50-50, but I think Newcastle are going to be just as on it, I think, in my opinion, as we are. Up for it. They're going to play their first team. It's going to be so important for them. Arsenal, for me, at the moment, on judging by how we've played against them the last couple of times, it's going to be very hard to score goals against them. And if they get a couple of goals, can we kind of overturn that? I don't know. Liverpool, I don't know, I just got a good feeling about it. I feel like if they don't take it as seriously, if they rest a few players, maybe we can catch them on an off day, I think.
Yeah, when you're talking about in terms of motivations, out of the 4 teams that are left in it, they've probably got the least motivation. They won it last year. They're top of the league right now. They're going really well in the Champions League. FA Cup still to come as well. So I think you're right in terms of motivations, but when you're talking about in terms of quality, they are
but that can make
the
a
best
difference.
teams. Yeah, no, you're right. And you look at the game against Southampton, they played 2 kids in the middle of the park. Are they going to do that against us?
I watched that game against Hampton. I know they were 2-0 up in the first half, but second half they nearly gave it away, and they were very.
They had 2 kids in the middle of the park. Like, will they play that against us, though?
I don't know. Yeah, look, I guess my point is there's more chance of them doing it than Newcastle or Arsenal. I guess.
All 4 of these clubs have their own kind of motivations, don't they, coming into this last round? Like Arsenal, Arteta's had the questions about trophies since he's got there. Obviously, he won the FA Cup in his first year, but since then, nothing's come through the door for Arsenal in terms of silverware. So, the questions are starting to slowly mount up on Arteta about winning silverware. So there's that for them. Newcastle obviously haven't won anything since like the 40s or the 50s or something 51. Like that. Spurs obviously haven't won a cup since 2008, and Liverpool, the first year of Arne Slot, he probably wants to start off early and get the first trophy through the door as well. So everyone's coming into it with their own motivations. It's going to be
a good story, whoever wins it.
Exactly. And let's say, for argument's sake, we can and we do beat Liverpool. The prospect of a North London derby cup final, I don't know if I'll be able to handle that, man. I seriously don't know if I'll be able to handle that. That'll be way too much.
And funny enough, I actually think Newcastle might be one of the better teams to play in terms of they could face in the semi-final, because they've beaten them a couple of times at St James's Park in recent years.
Yeah,
and they might feel like there's one of those teams where they're quite good in transition, quite good on the counter, and when they do decide to sit deep, they can be quite effective there. So, could Newcastle have a chance against Arsenal over 2 legs? I think it's going to be a tight game.
Of course they do. I think each team in their own right has a chance in the semi-finals.
Mm-hmm.
I think on paper you'll probably say that Spurs have the least chance right now to go to the final.
Yeah.
Out of everyone, but look, it's a semi-final. You never know what can happen, and. It's a monstrous lineup, though, isn't it, for a semi-final of Carabao Cup?
Yeah, absolutely, massive.
So and also if Spurs play Newcastle in the final, God, it's just going to come down to desperation. Who wants it more?
What's called the trophyless playoff?
The Trophy Drought Derby.
El Trophico.
El Trophyless Co. But yeah, that is the match review for the 4-3 win against Manchester United in the Carabao Cup quarter-final last night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.